It's time to dad.
Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us at Time to Dad. I'm sitting here with Joe and Nick. Thank y'all for joining us. We're going to start the episode with a few weekly check-ins. We'll start with Joe.
What's up, everybody? Listen, great to be here and obviously on with you guys. Check-ins are always good. We're doing good. Um, Family's good. Boys are good. We finally got our 8 month. It's going to be 8 months tomorrow. Actually, the youngest one. So we got the two boys, as most of our viewers possibly know. But he finally is starting to sleep through. He wakes up one time. All right, he wakes up one.
Nice.
But he did sleep through the full night like a week and a half ago for the first time. So that was like amazing. To kind of get that. So that felt good. Because of that, we're down from 4 cups of caffeine to 3, which was our normal. So it is amazing how just that sleep you can even save yourself a little bit of there being in. Boys are good. They had a great time trick or treating.
I saw the costumes, man. Those were nice.
Yeah, so we did some trick or treating with Ninja Turtles. We got the costumes up and running. We had a good time with that, and then we met up with the cousins. So it's been a good few weeks. How about how about you guys?
Well, me, obviously, we had our big event at the fire department. We actually doubled the amount of kids that came to pay us a visit at the fire station. We had over 1,100 children show up at our department. And a lot of kids, a lot of popcorn, a lot of candy.
Shit ton of kids.
Yeah.
Where do you live? Do you live in kind of like a rural area? I don't remember exactly where you live at.
I live. So where I geographically live in town, I live in town. I'm 5 minutes from everything. But where I'm at is more of like just a smaller community of the town.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So you guys probably do more trunk or treats and things like that, and larger Halloween get together. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a blast. And then obviously I had opening weekend this past weekend. Didn't see a damn thing but 1 or 2 yearlings. I'm not hunting for antlers this year. I'm hunting for meat. So it was fruitless on that end, but I got a much needed respite with
hang out in the woods, man.
Yeah, I got to hang out in the woods. My mom's birthday was Saturday. We had a nice little my wife went and got a cake that was camouflage for my mom for her birthday. So it was appropriate for the occasion. My son got to play in the woods for the first time. That was refreshing. That was awesome.
Nice.
And then Jasper played in the rain, which was very entertaining to watch. So I feel refreshed. I'm doing really well this week.
It's the little things in life, man.
Yes, sir.
Those little things are the biggest pick-me-ups.
Yeah, 1,100 kids, and that is a lot of little kids in one area.
And we're a small fire station. We're a small fire station. We've got 25 firefighters tops. And this is, mind you, this is a volunteer fire department. Nobody gets paid for this. So
it's all about the kids, man. That's why I do all the goofy shit out in the yard with the lights and fog machine and stuff. I like seeing a little kid smile and giggle, man, and have a good time.
Yeah,
we're big on the
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, so I'm in this weird place because where this is usually our point of time in my line of work where we kind of slow down and we're kind of ramping down into the holiday season, and then come January 1st, everybody gets that fresh round of funding, so all the jobs start going batshit crazy and we're busy again. But I've been helping New York with some work, and apparently I did a little too good of a job because now they're asking me to hop on all sorts of projects left and right. So the end of this year for me, I think it's going to be a little busier, a little more chaotic than I'm used to. So I've been trying to plan that out and make sure I don't get stressed the F out. what else? What else do I got going on? I've been working on the Christmas lights display. I got these 46-inch tall bulbs that they have little mouths on them, and you can program the like individual lights to make them sing along with the soundtrack I have in the background and shit. And so my son was watching me work on those all this past weekend, and he was having a blast. He thinks it's absolutely hilarious, which is the goal of it all. So I mean, I'm doing good for the most part. I can't really complain. But the real check-in that I think everyone's here for is the election results, right? We try to stay out of politics for the most part. I mean, we touched on some gender-based stuff in a previously episode, and I think that's about as risque as we've gotten as far as political type things go. But man, what the state of the goddamn United States of America right now is just has my mind absolutely blown.
Yeah.
The people have spoken. I mean, they made it very obvious what they wanted and what they didn't want. So, I mean,
you can argue that all damn day, dude. But I'm like, it's like I was talking to you guys about the post from the person that I went to school with, and people posting, what do I tell my kids? And
and how do they stay
regardless
safe?
of who I wanted to win, my thought was, you tell your kid, welcome to America. Like, this is a democracy. We vote. It's just like every other thing in life. Sometimes things go the way that you want them to, and sometimes they don't. But this whole conniption fit that everybody is having, like, all of a sudden the U.S. is just becoming, we're back in 1944, and all of a sudden Nazi Germany's coming to town. I don't understand it, dude. And I want to be sympathetic to people, but reactions like that to this sort of thing, I cannot wrap my head around enough to understand to where I can put myself on their level and say, okay, I understand where this person is coming from. I just don't get it. And I'm sure you guys have seen similar things, but it just blows my mind. And I don't talk about my son with, politics with him. He knows there was an election. He asked if mommy and daddy voted, which we obviously did. But that's all he needs to know, dude. Why burden your kid? If your kid is not old enough or within a couple years to vote or learning politics, they're at a level in school where they're learning politics, I don't understand why you would need to explain anything about this to them.
It's not like you're going to explain tax brackets to them. It's not like you're going to explain tax cuts for middle class families. It's not like you're going to talk about stuff like that. So why use fear tactics like that and blow something entirely out of proportion? Obviously, I am very biased towards one of the candidates. I'm glad he won, but and I'm going to sit here and say there would have been dire consequences if the opposing candidate won. Now, mind you, I'm not going to go to social media crying and having a conniption fit, and I'm darn sure not going to have this discussion with my child.
At the end of the day, if the alternate candidate had gotten elected, at the end of the day, from your point of view, things would be different, right?
Yeah.
But your life is not in danger physically, and that's the kind of stuff I'm seeing. Yeah. Yes, things like what inflation can indirectly attack your family, things like that, and I get those. Those are real concerns if people were to have those. But all this stuff where, people are literally just in fear for their lives right now.
Well, the thing is nobody, they can be sitting here screaming and crying that they're mad that Trump won. But I will say this: nobody truly believes he's comparable to to Hitler and that he's a Nazi. Nobody actually says that and believes it.
Dude,
Well,
when the whole
say it, I just, what I always look at, right? Because just like anything, and I don't care, I mean, everybody has their opinions and where they, if they're left, right, middle, what up, down. I don't care, but I think a challenge of it is that it's just nobody knows what to believe from either side anymore. And I think right, just like anything, we know negative sells. And I think
not negative, fear.
Yes, fear. And it's just when they're making things up, and that's just constantly what you see over and over and over again.
It's social media, man.
It's just, it is. And it's just the social media, and nobody knows what to believe, and they're afraid not to believe it. I feel like, it's like because they.
No, it's all these, dude. If you want my opinion, all these posts where these people are just having absolute conniption fits, it's not about their genuine concerns for their well-being. It's more about them feeling like they're letting others know that, hey, I was with you. It's the same thing for people who support Donald Trump. They're out there letting everybody else know, hey, I voted for Donald Trump. And on the Kamala side, they're, expressing their disappointment, but they're expressing it from a what appears to be their realistic thought process of that their lives are now physically in jeopardy. And I told you guys, I was reading that article about politics has really shifted from it being very well-informed voters. It was a much smaller, tight-knit voter base than it is right now. Because now you have the media attacking different races, vote for this candidate if you're XYZ because they hate XYZ, or this candidate supports XYZ. And there's no backing support of any of this, right? It's just what people are seeing through the one single lens of whatever media source they use. And all it takes is for one person now in a group of individuals to now start passing that information on to them. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I'm going to go look. And they Google it once. And then guess what? For the next fucking 4 years of your life, all you're getting are posts about how XYZ hates, blacks or hates Latinos or, Mexicans or hates them. That's all you get. And it's just rammed down people's throats, dude. When COVID started, I said, fuck the media. I don't usually drop the F-bomb on here, but I felt it was appropriate. But that's what I said, dude. And I stopped because that's what COVID did, right? The only real place to get because nobody could go outside. Nobody could do shit. The only place to get live, so to speak, real information was to watch the news. And so everybody picked their news outlet that kind of matched their thoughts of how it should be handled. And here we are today, where everybody is dedicated to their news outlet. And that news outlet is only going to cater to you, right? Yeah. And they're only going to beat things into the ground that you're going to support. And so when COVID started, man, I didn't delete social media like a lot of people did. When the whole Trump shit was going down, I got myself into some trouble with friends and family of talking about things. But this time I just stayed calm, dude. And this is fucking America. Whoever got elected, it could suck for the next 4 years. It could be great. Even if the person I wanted to be elected got elected, it could still suck balls. Nobody fucking knows. But that's part of America, right? And it's a cycle that you go through. And I understand the people that are hell-bent on supporting one candidate for whatever reasons. And that's the beauty of America. You can do that. But the world is not fucking ending. And it's just like every other aspect of life, whether it was a positive outcome for you or a negative, you just roll with the goddamn punches. And all these posts about people just looking for attention and wanting other people to chime in and say, oh, I 100% agree. I just don't get it, dude. I don't I don't care.
Well,
I mean,
you
my
said-
wife the whole time was like, don't get involved in any politics. And I had no intentions this year to do it to begin with. I just realized with the last set of shenanigans that it's not even worth my time to just get involved in that shit anymore. But it just really scares me. The stuff I see really concerns me about the future of the United States. And it has nothing to do with who was elected. It just has to do with the mental thought
Society.
process that you can see unwinding in people's minds. You know, I don't know.
I think there's you kind of said it, you were alluding to it in the beginning, right? Voters, again, I'll be honest, right? In college, when I was in college, I didn't look into this shit, right? I lived with my parents. I didn't, whatever happened didn't really affect me too much. High school, and everybody's
you probably voted the way your parents did, just because that's what you knew.
Well, exactly, right? So if I was voting, that's kind of, hey, I understood the morals, I understand the economics of life and things of that nature. Because, I worked at a freaking deli or whatever, right? Like, and that's what I was doing. But I think with social media now, right? And you said it before, like there's been a big push for people to vote from TV, from this, from that, to go out there and vote. And there is more voters today, but there's more uneducated voters. People that voted, I feel like in the past, were voting because they actually had conviction and knew
emotional voting or some other. JT and I were actually kind of talking on this while we were waiting for everybody to hop on for the previous episode. But a lot of they kept talking. If you were watching anything on the polls closing yesterday and all the live data coming in, and a lot of the locations where they typically wouldn't have voted Democrat, they kept saying, there's an enormous amount of new women voters coming out, right?
Okay.
And I am not, I have nothing against women. I 100% agree with women in power and women in, really high up positions and women, scratching and clawing their way to get these positions that historically have not been available to women, or they just haven't been in them. I'm all about that. But when you solely base something like your right to vote on the primary reason being that you're voting for a candidate because they are a woman and could potentially be the first woman or not, those are the kind of voting decisions that you're seeing now.
It's dangerous.
It's emotional voting. Yeah. It is not. And again, I'm nothing against women in power, nothing against women empowerment and women wanting to support women in that role. But I mean, honestly, the president of the United States is not the place to stand your ground on that kind of issue.
Yeah.
To me, it's bigger than that. And I know there are millions of women out there that will argue 100% the opposite. But it's just like you were saying, man. I don't understand the basis that people are using to vote. And I think that's part of the reason why you see such this huge divide, because nobody can tell you, Donald Trump supporter, Kamala Harris supporter, all they can tell you that these people have done is what's been regurgitated by the media. Nobody has gone out and physically researched their campaigns, looked at, their actual documentation. It's just straight regurgitation. And usually it's hurtful things that, oh, you're a Trump supporter, you're racist. Oh, you're a Kamala supporter, well, you just like women, or, you only support LGBTQ communities. And that's where the divide came from, man. It's no longer about voting because you're informed. And that's why you can no longer talk to your friend who may be a Democrat if you're a Republican. Because it just becomes this giant hate fest rather than an educated conversation that could possibly sway you one way or the other. It's just politics now. You have to be left or right. And if you're left, you're always going to butt heads with the right. And if you're right, you're going to, and that's not to say everybody's that way. I do think there are some people that are still educating themselves and voting accordingly. And you can have down to earth conversations with those people. At the end of the day, you'll still give them a hug or buy them a beer, and shit'll be fine. But it that's just not the way it is, man. And it's kind of sad, and it's kind of scary. And that's what scares me more about the election, more so than worrying about if Kamala had been elected versus Trump. That's what scares me. And I think that's the realistic fear that most people are not seeing.
Yeah, well,
you're not hugging any Democrats.
no, well, no, absolutely not. No, yeah, I was gonna say that. Look, I don't mean to seem hateful, but I mean, so whenever my wife and I started dating, one of the questions that I asked before she and I agreed to move forward was, "What is your political affiliation?" Because I have a standard. Look, as far as a relationship, there's a lot of moral differences where the political
I get it, dude. Could you
is.
imagine a household right now if you have a spouse who's left or right, or the opposite of you?
Exactly.
It'd be like World War fucking III in your house right now.
There is a huge moral divide, and I made it explicitly clear how you tend to vote will be a make or break thing for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I know a lot of people think that's hateful, but
that's not. I mean, listen, that's a matter of how you're going to raise your kids. That's a matter of right, and whether one side is right or wrong, that doesn't matter. It's if those are your morals, and you have different morals the way you're going to raise your kids, that's going to lead to divorce. I mean, there's no other way around that. So you're better off laying it out in the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, it's kind of like, to make a joke of it, but it's like, hey, listen, are you straight or gay? If you're trying to marry the other sex and they say they're gay, it's not going to work. Similar to that, long term, it's not going to work, and that's why you see failed marriage. Oh, I knew I was gay, but I had to marry this one, and years later, it doesn't work because they were not seeing the same things, right? And
I get where you're coming from. I honestly, it's interesting you say that, because politics never came up early on in Jen and I's relationship. It was just more an understanding of our backgrounds and kind of well, honestly, we got engaged within a year of knowing each other. But we just kind of figured it out on our own, right? We were a young family. Obviously she had a daughter already. But over time, it's time and the current state of affairs that really kind of pushed Jen and I to the same area of political understanding and direction and belief and whatnot. But I don't know if when we were, what were we? I don't even know how old we are. I don't know if she was left or right. We didn't talk about voting because there wasn't so much hatred involved.
Yeah.
I didn't ask who she voted for. She didn't care who I voted for. I'm just glad we're both on the same page, because I cannot imagine a house divided by politics right now. It would just, I don't know what the hell you would do, honestly.
That might be a fun post. Be like, hey, does anybody have a spouse that sees the opposite and see what the
dude? I have family who's opposite of me, and boy, let me tell you, it
makes Thanksgiving dinner very interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, listen, and it is an interesting thing. Like, I think I was talking to my wife this morning about it, and it was funny. Like, we were talking, and I'm like, it's interesting. All the people that I hung out with in high school, that were like my friends in high school, that I chose to associate with, still are the people that I see the same things with now, that we still see eye to eye on those things. And it's amazing. So
I am the opposite.
So it's kind of interesting. Like, I was kind of looking, I'm like, all right, so like, we didn't think of politics in middle school and high school, but there was something about either our morals, right? Or maybe it could be work ethic or what you want to do, blue collar, white, whatever it is. And that we still got along. Like, I was going through, there's only one of my group, and he left the group like right after college. He's been gone for years, but everybody else, we're all
Yeah.
the same. And I just kind of found that interesting that even as a young kid, you associated with that, even though politics was not a thing. And I don't know,
So
maybe that's not how it is for everyone.
yeah, I would say like my closest friends, some of them now I'm just like, I look at shit and shake my head. It's more of my friends that were kind of like on the fringe of being in the circle of friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I hung out, I was friends with them, but they weren't in that like core group of friends. And the people that were kind of right on that outer edge are the people now that I find myself identifying with more and being closer with. Right at our age, you kind of figure out who your real friends are. You've kind of stopped talking to the people that that you got along with in high school, but you just don't jive with anymore. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's just kind of life, I guess. You kind of gravitate towards people who do the shit you want to do. They talk the way you want to do. That's just what it is.
Yeah. You want to be around people that I guess you could talk about the same stuff. It's just common nature. But
I mean, I don't care about being around the opposite people. I'm just naturally confrontational, I guess you would say. Like I don't mind having to, say some shit and back up my opinion if I don't agree with dumb shit you're doing. Honestly, that's why I don't have a ton of friends. It's just because I don't like ignorant, stupid shit.
I have a proclivity
to be quite honest. I see a lot of ignorant, stupid shit in people every day, and it hurts my soul, man. And I think that's why Jen and I are homebodies. Like, she's got a couple close friends that we'll go out and do things with, and I've got a couple close friends, but we don't have a shit ton of people over like all the time. We don't go out and do shit with a bunch of people all the time. Society's just in this weird place where our kind of people are just becoming few and far between, and it's not like we're fucking weirdos or anything like that. It's just
maybe I don't know, who knows.
It's just like things that make you go when you hear them, and you're like, do I really? It's America's at a huge divide, man. I think you've got 50% that want to kind of relive the glory days of America, right? Strong sense of community, strong sense of belonging, strong sense of responsibility, work ethic. And then you've got this kind of other side, and I won't even call it a generation because it still spans all generations, right? You can find both on each side. So the whole millennial, exennial, all that bullshit, that doesn't even fucking matter anymore. But I think you're seeing people that are holding on to old school America traditions, beliefs, ways of raising kids. And then you've got this new generation, and some people would like to call them, fuck, the word has left my mouth now that I'm thinking about it. But some people are wanting to adapt to more of a European style of living, and there's just this really weird divide, man, of it. It almost doesn't feel like America, if you follow me. I don't know. And I'm not going to try and predict the future, man. And I'm not going to write a post about it, and ask all of Facebook for its wisdom, or anybody to, kind of pander to me and agree. Like, that's just not what I'm about. I'm going to keep living life the way I need to live for my family. I'm going to keep raising my kids the way that I think they should be raised. And I'm going to do my best to stay out of all the BS and muddiness. And I'm just going to stay in my lane, man. And do what I can. I don't, at this age, I don't see the need to try and do anything to try and impress anyone or fit in with a particular group of people who have belief. Like, if you don't like me, I really don't care, dude. I'm turning 40 in 2 years. Like, fuck off. I'm just not. I'm not about that
Yeah,
life,
I think
man.
that's a big
It's
thing.
not worth my time.
Going back to the social media, you said like people want attention. There people have a need to want to be liked. Like that is it is a thing.
Well, that's social media.
Yeah, well, it is.
That's exactly.
You know,
They want that immediate gratification.
yes, they do, and people need it. Like it is not something they just want. Like they thrive off it. They can't function without it. Like it is almost like that's like a disease. Like they have to be liked, and some people want to change that, and they can. Some people just do it. But I think that is part of the whole.
It would be interesting to have a therapist or like a psychologist point of view on everything that's going on. Would be really interesting right now.
Let's call Dr. Phil. Let's see if we can get him on.
Yeah, fuck yeah, Dr. Phil.
That would be interesting.
Right? That would be awesome. I'd love that. We used to watch that.
But
I used to leave work early just to get home so me and my wife could watch Dr. Phil at 3:00 sometimes.
I mean,
have never watched Dr. Phil, but I will say this: he is not the same man. You know, he's not the same man he was 10, 15 years ago. Like he's actually injected him. You know, because politics has obviously affected people's mental state. You know what I'm saying? It's and so I can see why he's involving himself in politics to some degree because
you just gotta separate yourself from it, man.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't. That's the unfortunate reality. Is just like you and I observed on Facebook. You know, you had somebody legitimately sitting there having a conversation with their kid on how they can be safe.
Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely some mental instability there. And I
is
think
it mental? I don't know if it's mental or just somebody trying to do what they think is the social norm.
Well, there's obviously that too, but you know the Trump derangement syndrome is a legitimate thing, and to me that sounds much like mental illness. I'm telling you. So it's odd. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Both sides think it too. Like like this side thinks this.
Oh, you have the equal. Yeah, there's definitely an equal amount of craziness on both sides. I will not deny that one bit.
It 100% is, and whether it's right or wrong, it's
the problem is. Okay, let's say everybody sitting here right now supports Trump. We're automatically would be associated with Trump derangement syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
We would be lumped into that basket. And the same thing would happen if we were supporting the other side. And that is the problem because nobody knows your exact reasons why you voted for who you voted for. Nobody fucking needs to know. Social media doesn't need to know. Your friends don't need to know. The idea that you need to get that out there so everybody knows is just bullshit to begin with. It's like the posts we see in the dad groups, right? Kids got like a giant fucking welt that looks like they were obviously bitten by some sort of venomous insect or critter. And people are like, dude, your kid's leg looks like it's about to explode. And you chose to come to Facebook versus going to see a licensed physician. It's the same kind of thing, right? Like, you're really asking these questions on social media because you're legitimately concerned and fearing for your life? Do I believe you're the type of person that actually believes that? No, I fucking don't. I think you're just posting it because social media says you have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, everybody just immediately assumes the worst.
Yeah.
And it goes back. I mean, this ties to so many things. This goes back to our episode about keeping your kids off fucking electronics. You know, God only knows what kids are being fed about politics. I can't tell you how many shows Emerson's been watching on the Fire Stick downstairs, and he's watching fucking Bluey episodes, and there's political ad campaigns in between the Bluey episodes. I'm like, Jesus, like it is everywhere, everywhere.
leave the kids alone. I think
Sure.
that'd be a
Yeah.
great start.
Show me a mac and cheese commercial. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a kid watching a kid show. Makes sense. You know, show me the new latest Barbie toy. I get it. Kid show. But political ad campaign stuff, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's this big game that people don't really realize they're playing till they've already lost everything and they're in so deep. The only thing they can do is keep going with it. Is how I picture this kind of crap in my mind. And I don't mean to be so harsh about it. I would like to be sympathetic if I could find a reason to be sympathetic, and I would like to understand, but when it is just so outlandish, I cannot. There's no fucking possible way for me to find a common ground to even begin to say, listen, I understand what you're feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the divide that
have
will
a
never
conversation with people, and I think that goes back to it's important, right? To understand, right? Like, just like anything, right? If you're married and your wife is feeling a certain way, you try to understand why, right? What are they feeling to understand? You have a conversation about it, and I think that's an important
we all know
thing.
the answer to that. You forgot to take the trash out.
That's it. But I feel like that's like I one of my good friends is black, and him and I have conversations about this stuff all the time. Because listen, we grew up different, and we were raised different, or we grew up in different demographics and communities and things, and we talked about it one time, and we were talking about, I think it was when the whole Roe versus Wade thing was first first changed a few years back, and we talked about, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but, we talked about, when is it okay? Like they talked about, obviously abortion, and the conversation was what happens if somebody's raped by their dad, or in the incest and things like that. And or a person raped, and, should they be allowed to get it then because they don't want to keep it? And I understand the conversation topic of that. Right. But what we talked about was, well, what happens when the woman just wants to get rid of any baby and says, well, this person raped me, and now innocent men are going to jail even though they didn't do it. But that's the only way to create an abortion, is if somebody rapes you. And so there's never going to be a perfect answer in that. There's always going to be gray area. But if that conversation starts a screaming match, it's never going to go anywhere. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once somebody starts screaming, the conversation is over.
Well, exactly, and
it doesn't even have to be screaming. I could have a conversation about it with just about anyone, but the second I realize you're just regurgitating what mass media is spoon feeding you, that's where I just lose interest, because at that point I can easily identify that you have not taken the time to look into anything yourself, to where we can both have an adult educated conversation about it, because you're not having a conversation. At that point, it just becomes a pissing match. And nobody wins in that. You both just end up with wet fucking pants. So that's the biggest thing, man. I don't know if we'll ever get back to that, honestly, to where you can have a neighbor with a differing political opinion and be able to have a legitimate, normal conversation about it. I think that time has come and gone.
Sad as it is, I think the only thing that would bring something close together again like that is something like 9/11 type thing that happened.
It would have to be, that's
but even with that, people, right? There's conspiracy theories there where people in this, and even such a terrible event now in today's world causes.
Honestly, I don't even. At this point, I don't even believe anymore if something crazy catastrophic like that were to happen, that America would ever come together again like they did through all that shit.
Not when right now the only thing that unites this country is geography. I don't think there will ever be anything that will unite us like we once were.
Well, it'll be like it'll be like in North Carolina, right? Like what just happened with the flooding. You've got one side who's posting videos about how FEMA is imposing restrictions and turning people away.
Yeah.
I'll never know what if that was accurate. But anything that were to ever happen like that would immediately be turned into why one political party is fucking it up or making it worse or caused it. And you will always have that divide, I think. Yeah. I don't know how that goes away.
Well, you're gonna always have, someone on either side of the political divide pointing the finger at somebody else.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can do is look at existing policy that brought it to fruition. Okay.
Yeah.
So I myself, I have some insights into the FEMA disbursements and everything like that, but we won't get into it. It's irrelevant at this point. But no matter what, somebody on both sides of the political divide, they're going to point fingers at the other person and say, this is the reason why this person. Look, all I can say is, you know what I smell moving forward? I smell fuel prices decreasing, and I smell affordable groceries. I mean,
we'll see, man. I don't
think that's just down. It might just not continue to go up, too, right?
Yeah.
No, I believe it'll decrease, but I don't believe it'll be what it once was. No, I don't believe that it's ever going to go back to what it once was.
I mean, yeah, there's a piece of inflation that's historical, and it's just part of the way the economy operates, right? So you're always going to have it. Yeah, it's just a matter of damage control.
Yeah, but it's nice to know that we're gonna be able to mitigate some of it, and I don't know. I'm hopeful.
We'll see, man. Politics is. Anybody can promise a world, right? It's no different than electing a high school president. It all just happened, and that'll affect how you vote next year, right? If they deliver on what they say they're going to deliver on, right, you're going to be more likely to vote to support it again. If you're one of those dads out there that's honestly fearing for your family's life, like, dude, we talk about it all the time, like, see somebody. It's not that serious, man. The president cannot just up and all of a sudden declare war on the United States and ruin your life as you know it. I agree some things could be infringed upon that you strongly believe on, and it could be the same if it went the other way. But goddamn, if you were honestly worried for your family's safety, man, you gotta talk to fucking somebody about it. There's
a reason still everybody from other countries want to be here. So as messed up as it is on either side, it's still better than 99% of the places out there.
Agreed. And it's like I said, people should tell their kids, like, welcome to America. Like, we vote on things. It's a democracy. If you don't like it, then vote harder. Get more involved with your local political parties. Get more involved with your local governments. Just because you voted, let's be honest, your one little vote did not sway the election one way or the other. The United States has spoken as a whole, both majority vote and electoral college votes, of who they want to be president. And that is very damning evidence of how the U.S. feels as a whole. I'm not saying you have to agree with that majority, but it's just is what it is. And if you're questioning what you should tell your kids or what you should do for your family, man, it's the same fucking thing you do every day. It's wake up, go to work, do your shit, take care of yourselves and your family, and you keep rolling with the punches, man. If this is a particularly low point for you, then fucking pull yourself up and get over it. The same thing you would do. I cannot agree with the amount of fear that is in the United States. And the second people can suppress that fear and just everybody can move the hell forward, I think we'll be in a lot better place than we are right now. And I'm not trying to say I don't want to be understanding or I don't understand. I do talk to people, and there are reasons, that legitimate reasons why people vote for who they vote for. But the fear stuff, man, we got to figure out as a whole, as the United States, how we get past that and how we get back to educating ourselves and getting involved with local communities and governments, because that's where the real change happens, right? Sure, federal laws and things trickle down to the states and they affect us. But if you really are that concerned about change and what will directly affect your family, it's in your local governments.
Absolutely.
So that's my advice if you're feeling shitty right now about the election, is just get involved on a micro level in your community and go from there.
I'm going to say this to all the dads, all right? No matter who's president, no matter who you believe is best for the country, it is our job as men, providers, caretakers for our families, to adapt to any situation, good or bad. Mm-hmm. So no matter if you see the current state of the election as a good thing or bad thing, you pull yourself up, get yourself together for your family, and you protect your family. The local, as Nick stated, the local stuff is where it's at. That's the stuff that will affect you directly. But no matter the state of things,
and nobody's ever going to tell you how to raise your child, right? That is always going to be a power that's within your hands. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We're beating a dead horse at this point. I feel like, but again, guys, it's been a while past 4 years. I don't expect the next 4 years to be any different. We just got to adapt, guys. And if you guys have comments, I know this is will be one of our more controversial episodes. Post a comment, join the group. I'm all about getting back to the roots and having discussions. I just don't come at anyone with any sort of hate. Is the best advice I can offer, man. And everybody's in the same boat. JT and I talked about this earlier too. If you voted for a candidate because you honestly think they care about you as an individual, that's a bit far-fetched. Again, you're one vote in a giant sea of people. You agree with the beliefs and the things they say they want to do, but at the end of the day, you're a itty bitty fish in a huge pond. So just educate yourself, guys. When your local election, a lot of people don't vote in local elections. Yeah. And then they're like, well, I don't understand why all of a sudden the schools aren't getting money. Well, it's because you fucking elected XYZ, this is who you elected for your school board members. So it really, I get the president of the United States and the power that holds and the authority, but get involved at a much smaller level. And I think you'll see more of the change that you're fearing right now. You can impact that change more at a local level than you can on a national level. Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out again. Tried to keep that as non-biased as possible. But it's a tough subject, man. And it's a hard subject. You can't, I don't know anybody that can play both sides of the fence. Right. So before I forget, a special education episode, we were finally able to get another specialist on. We will be releasing that episode, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday. So please go and check that episode out. If you have a special needs, son, daughter, child, stepchild, niece, whatever it is, we have a really awesome resource coming on that episode to kind of help you guys navigate the uncertain waters of that. We see a lot of questions from dads and groups about special needs, where to get started, what to do. And we totally understand that that's something near and dear to a lot of dads' hearts. That's definitely not easy to deal with. So please check that episode when it comes out as well. Thank you guys for hanging out. God bless America, and we'll roll with the punches for the next 4 years, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. See ya.
Thank y'all. Good night.
Good night.